Welcome back to the Global Business Report here on Arise News. We've got the latest economic figures for Ghana, the Black Stars, fourth quarter GDP coming in at 3.6%. But you'll notice that there is a significant slowdown from what we saw in quarter three, 7.2%. This is, of course, annualized for each quarter. Let's find out what happened. Let's talk to Winston Tackie, business journalist, analyst, joining us from Accra. Winston, good morning to you. Thank you so much for being with us. So, what happened? Why the slowdown in the fourth quarter? It's the festive season, Dirty December. You do Dirty December in Accra. We do it here in Nigeria, in Lagos. So, why the slowdown? What happened?
Hello, Rotos. Good morning to all you viewers wherever they are across the world. It's interesting that we recorded this figure because for the first quarter, third quarter, and the fourth quarter of 2024, we kept seeing inflation, GDP growing astronomically. The interesting aspect that has to do with this recent figure is that it's not in the usual sector that we expected. We've seen the mining and quarrying sector leading the growth for the past three figures that were released by the Ghana Statistical Service. And most of the time, we are looking at the sector that has been influential in accelerating growth. And this time, it appears because of the election sentiment, many were of the view that although the numbers were good in the positive outlook of it, it does not carry along the individual, the citizens, their welfare, the cost of doing business, the cost of living, which has become very expensive. That was one of the key conversations going into the election last year. And after this year, the figures released, we saw the services sector taking the lead, which is not surprising because it has been leading consistently. And it is a positive indication going into the rest of 2025, under which this new government is quite optimistic. Their various policies will help accelerate growth, and this growth will carry along citizens and individuals.
Now, in fact, we're looking at the sectoral share of GDP. So services at 47%, industry at 30%, and agriculture. I think agriculture employs the most. So how important is the services sector to Ghana, Winston?
It is interesting. We know we've been investing a lot in the agri sector. The previous government had this Planting for Food and Job program, had a lot of programs related to the agri sector, but the output of those programs did not resonate well with the citizens because it got to a point where inflation kept rising to as high as 54% and it kept reducing subsequently. However, the price stability is a key issue. Prices have not been able to keep still, and that is the key challenge of the new government now. Why the agri sector hasn't been quite inclusive is a key issue. Just last 2 weeks ago, the government held a national economic dialogue, which is one of the promises of the new government, that when they come, they will take consensus of key policies and ideas from stakeholders across industries to ensure they have a policy that is inclusive, nationalistic, accelerative, and it will go in line to impact not just citizens, but the nation as a whole. And with this sector, services sector leading, industry seeing a positive post there, they're all good. But one thing is we are looking at a sustainable growth. Currently, the nation is bedeviled with a lot of debt, and as to how we'll come out of it is one of the key challenges the government is now trying to handle, which was presented yesterday at the floor of Parliament by the Finance Ministry.
By the new budget, and of course the IMF, the loans and all that. Okay, so look, I'm going backwards here. I guess I'm starting with sectors that contracted. Mining and quarrying minus 8.2, oil and gas 8.7, cocoa. We've talked a lot about cocoa. You and I 21.4%. I don't know if you want to touch on each or focus on cocoa, but was it weather patterns, disease? What hit cocoa?
Cocoa has been the lifeblood of our economy for several decades. For the past 3 years, they've been experiencing key financial challenges from the overall outlook of it. There's been a lot of strategy because of the sale and the pricing of cocoa. It has become incentivized because of the better price in Cote d'Ivoire compared to Ghana. So the spate of smuggling has been astronomical. Just a few weeks ago, a lot of smuggled cocoa were captured by the Ghana police and also the border control, and this has brought down the cases of smuggling across the country. But one thing that cocoa has to be done is there's been a new general manager, CEO of the Ghana Cocoa, who was appointed recently under this new government. Right now, what is before him is to ensure that the case of farmers giving out their lands of cocoa to galamseyers will have to be stopped, because a lot of galamsey activities are happening in key cocoa areas, and that has brought down our whole output in terms of what we're supposed to produce for the sell on the international market, because currently cocoa is doing so good, and any country who is trading in cocoa will be making huge revenue from that product.
Indeed, indeed. Maybe you can talk to us about this as far as the sectors that expanded. I think we talked about technology last time, information and communications, that there was some expansion there. I think also in construction, there was, construction 10.7, transport and storage, manufacturing. As far as the number of Ghanaians using their phones to send money and to transact and so on, is information and communication still a sector that you can see growing further in the future?
Absolutely. Digitalization and information communication has become the key currency in this new trend. We're seeing that the rate of social media, now monetization has become tremendously impactful. A lot of small and medium-scale enterprises, SMEs, are jumping into digital platforms for payments and transaction. Now, one thing that has been quite good and positive in that sector is the regulation. The regulatory authority are doing amazingly, ensuring they are monitoring the areas, bringing up policies that takes into consideration the consumer as well as the service providers. So there's been strong regulation in the telecommunication sector, and that is one thing that is boosting growth. Just recently, MTN recorded over $1 trillion in terms of revenue in the telecommunications sector. So it can tell you that it's a very vibrant sector. One thing that also requires is huge investment, huge monitoring. But another aspect is the cost of data. That is, for the side of consumers, is becoming very expensive. But the new telecommunication minister is quite optimistic. He's sitting with stakeholders to bring about a more affordable cost of data subsequently going into the rest of the year.
It's so interesting, the parallels between Nigeria and Ghana. We had our tariffs go up here, so its cost of data is going up here as well. Okay, so looking at annual growth for Ghana now, economy expanded by 5.7% in 2024, up from 3.1 in 2023. Your new finance minister, Cassiel Ato-Forson, while he was presenting the budget, he's forecasting 4.4% growth for 2025. How do you see it? Do you think you can hit that number or maybe do better?
It's quite likely. If you look at the projected growth by the World Bank itself, 4.1, we've seen that IMF is also projecting 4.0, and it appears, looking at this year's new strategy by the government, where they are taking into consideration a lot of industries that is essential for this growth trajectory. Many have also looked at the fact that the government's new policy will streamline and ensure there's revenue mobilization across sectors. And this time around, they have to do with prudent revenue mobilization, as well as price control, as well as ensuring there's constant compliance in terms of tax collection. And this has been a key challenge. A lot of businesses have not been paying taxes. A lot of businesses have also had to leave the country earlier for the past 3 years. Why? Because there has been huge overflow of taxes. And this government has promised, especially the finance minister, to rationalize these taxes to ensure the tax system is made simple to enhance compliance. So when this is done, it will give the needed revenue for government to deal with its rising debt, as well as any other infrastructure and social development project that needs that huge financing to ensure there's accelerated growth and development.
Now, I want to see how much. I'm wondering how much faith you all have in this new finance minister. There's a quote from him that I want to read to you. I think he made this quote while he was talking to journalists yesterday. He said, quote, the state of our economy is troubling, but we will fix it. It will require sacrifices, truthfulness, transparency, and discipline. We're committed to running a lean, efficient government, which is talking about I guess, cutting spending and so on. How much faith are you all putting into the new finance ministry and its ability to follow through on these promises?
It started with the first promise from the president himself, John Dramani Mahama, who said he's going to streamline the ministry, the number of ministers he's going to appoint. And so far, he's appointed 60 ministers with a few deputies. The previous government had over 122 ministers across sectors with a huge government structure, especially at the presidency. And he has prudently met his target. And therefore, when it comes to the appointments of ministers, there's been prudency there. But when we talk about lean government from the finance ministry's perspective, it's going to go across sectors. Just yesterday, after the ministerial meeting, we had an interview with him exclusively, and he indicated that there are a lot of previous government agencies that will be scrapped because he said they are replying or let's say duplicating mandates, and therefore when these agencies are scrapped, they will rather be absorbed in agencies, that is the employees will be absorbed in other agencies to ensure funding will be well aligned. So he sees it in that direction, and he is positive that other agencies of whom he has to approve funding will be streamlined to ensure those expenditure hurdles are handled economically.
So while looking at, I think you've already mentioned this, some of President Mahama's fiscal plans. So cut spending by 10% to about 204 billion, CDs, boosting revenue by about 20%. I think I heard you already talk about using technology to improve tax collection. What about this mining levy that they want to raise? They're looking to raise to 3% from 1%. Don't you think there'll be some pushback from the mining sector if that levy is to go up?
It's not going to be much of a pushback. One, the government has been smart about this mining sector. They are instituting a small-scale mining directory, which is the Ghana Gold Board. And the Gold Board is going to align and streamline the purchase and sale of gold from the domestic market, that is the galamseys. And this will give an oversight over what can be produced, exported, and managed in the country. When we talk about the mining industry, it's big. We have the large-scale miners and the small-scale miners. The large-scale miners, they have been making profits. If we look at their books, every quarter they make astronomical profits. With this being in place, I'm sure this tax policy will also give government a better share of the sector, looking at how much they produce and how much is kept in the country. So I believe it is a smart way of balancing the tax net. And from that angle, because of government's current situation, it makes it a proper sector to tax going into the first year of the government. And we'll see the outcome of it, how much government will be able to make, looking at these new and huge debt hurdles. From the beginning of the year, government had to pay over $2-3 billion, especially to Euro bond holders and also service Euro domestic bond holders. And these are fiscal burdens government will have to handle with, and there are subsequent hurdles ahead for the year going into the 2026, 2027, and the years ahead.
You know, it was great talking to you ahead of the election. The election has come and gone. Now it's time for the new government to act. Winston, it's always a pleasure having you. Thank you so much. You're a wealth of knowledge on Ghana. And we thank you for joining us from Accra. Winston Tackie there, business journalist, also an analyst there, giving us the lowdown on what to expect for the new administration. We'll see how they work things out.